Americans are uneasy at the moment. Can the administration guarantee no terrorists will slip through the cracks?
Well, we can never guarantee anything to 100%, but I will tell you, sitting on the Homeland Security Committee and on the Armed Services Committee, that both of those agencies do biometric searches, talk to other intel, take a look at families. 75% of the people who are trying or exiting are actually women and children. And I believe that we do a very thorough background investigation. And when we can't find the information that we want, when there's a gap, we actually don't allow them in. So I just don't agree with Governor Christie that he doesn't trust this administration. First of all, this administration are civil servants. They're people who do this regardless of who the president is.
Well, Chris Christie isn't alone in his thoughts. Donald Trump sent on a tweet this morning saying, quote, "Refugees from Syria are now pouring into our great country. Who knows who they are? Some could be ISIS. Is our president insane?" First of all, because, you know, I like facts, I want to present the big picture for my viewers. According to the U.S. State Department, in fiscal 2013, only 36 refugees were allowed into the United States from Syria. So I just want to put it into perspective. That said, President Obama is planning to allow 10,000 into the country next year. In light of what happened in Paris, should he do that? Or should the refugees coming from Syria be a trickle like it is now?
First of all, as you have noted, this pouring in, they're not pouring in. There is a very extensive process by which refugees come into this country. In fact, usually Congress has allotted a certain amount of slots, and we never even get even 2/3 of the way through the year in these types of refugees actually being allowed into the United States. I happen to know a lot about refugees and resettlement into the United States because Orange County, California, where I represent, has always been a beacon of bringing people in through our faith-based organizations and with our nonprofits that are working there. So I happen to know just how difficult, arduous the project, the program is in order for people to come in. And let me tell you, taking 10,000 refugees, and I don't even believe we have the process that will actually vet and bring 10,000 in. But that is a drop in the bucket compared to what we are seeing other countries like Germany and France and other European countries. Remember that the very people who are leaving Syria are the strong ones. They're the ones who have stayed on despite the fact that there would be a cafe bombing or a bus bombing. These are now people who are scared for their children's future because bombs are being dropped on them. Bombs are being dropped on them sometimes by us, now by the Russians, by Assad, by ISIS. They are just caught in the middle of what really is nasty war.
I do think Americans understand that, but I think they're understandably concerned at this particular time in light of what happened in Paris. I want you to listen to something that Senator Ted Cruz told Dana Bash about Syrian refugees. Let's listen.
What about Muslims who are victims of the radical Islamic terrorists who, you know, are taking their religion and they're hijacking it? What about protecting those people?
There is no doubt that millions of people are suffering from the rise of radical Islamic terrorism. Christians are suffering, Jews are suffering, and other Muslims are suffering.
But you're saying Muslims shouldn't be allowed in the U.S.?
What I'm saying is Syrian Muslim refugees should be resettled in the Middle East, in majority Muslim countries.
All right. So in other words, persecuted Christians and Jews should be allowed to come to the United States, but not persecuted Muslims because it's too dangerous, and they should be relocated in the Middle East where they're from.
Well, first of all, let's look at it from two angles. The first is, as Americans, that is a terrible thing to say, that we will only allow Jews and Christians into our country and not Muslims. That is so un-American. I don't even want to spend any more time on it. But the second issue, that somehow these people should be resettled in Middle Eastern countries, well, what do you think is happening is Turkey? What do you think Jordan has absorbed in this? Lebanon, which had already been unstable, and yet they are taking these refugees refugees, or the northern portion of Iraq, where there still is so much civil war and where there's really the brunt of the attack of ISIS has come. So there have been plenty of Middle Eastern countries who have taken these people in, whether they wanted to or whether they just flooded into their country. So these people are escaping something that is going on that is so terrible. It's mostly women and children, and if they are to come to the United States, there is an extensive process. And if we're not comfortable with the information, the intel that we have on these people, they simply do not get into our country.
All right, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez of California, thanks so much. Still to come. You're welcome. Still to come in the newsroom. Did Europe's porous borders make it easier to launch an attack in Paris than in the United States? And could it happen here? We'll talk about that next.